That was quick. So I'm going to introduce now Kelley Woggon, who has come here to facilitate our labyrinth experience. And I'm going to let Kelley tell you about herself rather than me trying to do it.
Go up here so I can feel like a preacher. How about that? Hi, I'm Kelley Woggon. I am the Director of Pastoral Care and the Director of Palliative Care for Norton Healthcare in Louisville. And this is my third time with you, bringing the labyrinth. We don't remember exactly when the last time was, 3 years ago or so. But I am thrilled and honored to be among you again today to share with you the powerful tool of the labyrinth. Who has walked before? Okay, so almost everybody. Almost everybody. What I'm going to do is talk just a little bit of tiny little smidgen of history, a little bit of explanation about the labyrinth. I have a reading that I found recently that I thought was really helpful. We'll answer any questions that you might have before we walk, but the main thing we want to do is to have an opportunity to walk. And we'll do that and take all the time that we need for that. We're going to turn the lights down and get nice and quiet as we have a chance to share that experience together. So labyrinths are very ancient. They have been found in different sorts of designs, almost always circular, on nearly every continent in the world, and the oldest ones, as far as we can tell, date back at least 3,000 years, perhaps longer. The most ancient design is a little bit different than this. It's called the classical design. And one of the theories about where that particular design came from is that it appears, as you go through the circuits, appears to match the movement of the planet Mercury through the sky, which is a fascinating thought there. We see labyrinths in all kinds of places throughout history. They have been imprinted in coins. They've been carved into stone. They've been written in the margins of manuscripts by monks. Find them at the beginnings of pathways. Find them in churches. The one that we have here, which I'm honored to share with you, belongs to Norton Healthcare, is patterned after the one that is found in the inlaid in stone in the floor of the cathedral in Chartres, France. So this was a typical design in the medieval period, so we call this the medieval design. That is probably number one on my personal bucket list, speaking of France. I'm going to get there one day and walk the Chartres labyrinth. That one was inlaid in the cathedral in the year 1201. So they are very ancient and archetypal in the world. They come in and out of existence and use, and they've fallen out of use for several hundred years, and they were experiencing an amazing revival over the last 30 years or so. And there have been thousands built in these last few decades, and they've experienced a great rediscovery. They are in churches. Danville is the closest one we think we know of, in the Presbyterian Church there in Danville. It's outside, accessible to anyone. Hospitals like ours, schools, prisons.
There's also one at the Sisters of Loretto.
Sisters of
Peace.
exactly. St. the Benedictine Monastery in Ferdinand, Indiana, where I'll be next week. It's mowed into the grass. So there are permanent ones. This is a portable one. Many, many places. So the labyrinth is not a maze. Mazes are, perhaps unfortunately, if you look in the dictionary, very often those words are interchangeable, interused. But as we talk about this kind of labyrinth, they are not the same. A maze is designed as a game. There are dead ends and wrong turns, and the idea is to try to find your way out. It's a game, so you might turn here, that's the wrong way, so you got to go out. And they can be a lot of fun. You know, the corn ones that are put into farm, fields to go through. But a labyrinth has one path. And if you look right over there, that the path is the white. And so that's what you will walk. And it's just one path. You take that path, you'll go through the entire thing, end up in the middle, stay in the middle as long as you want to. When you're ready, you follow the same path back out again. A maze is designed to make you lose your way. Labyrinths are designed to help you find your way, which is a nice way that I like to think about it. So what makes it work? It's a tool. It's a tool for prayer, for meditation, for contemplation, for discernment, for simply centering, stress reduction, relaxation. I've heard of stories of labyrinths in hospitals where surgeons will walk before a surgery to sort of center themselves and focus. So what makes that work? And what makes it work is that the path is narrow, so you have to have attention. So you have to pay attention to the path. If you keep walking and you sort of look off, you might step off of it onto the one next to you, and you thought you were going in, and suddenly you're going back out again. So that's what can happen. So you have to pay attention. But you don't have to think, right? You don't have to think, do I turn right or do I turn left? You just walk. And so it's that combination of both attention, but yet the mind is free, that makes it very meditative and can be quite profound. I'd like to read for you a passage of a little book called The Labyrinth Revival by Robert Ferre, who's one of our nation's leading experts in labyrinths. And it's a little bit long, but I thought it was worth the time. Many people are surprised by the rapport they feel with labyrinths. Often they're unable to verbalize it, only to feel it. I believe that labyrinths take us out of our modern rectilinear perspective. If nothing else, it rescues us from the busyness and pressure of scheduled and responsibilities and gives us time to be with ourselves in a focused way. We may just find comfort or relaxation, or perhaps we will come into contact with our deeper and more authentic selves. Perhaps we tap into a long-forgotten archetypal reservoir that reconnects us with the universe, our ancient predecessors, and ourselves. There's a good argument that labyrinths have reappeared periodically throughout history at times of great change and spiritual crisis. They serve as a kind of gyroscope, steadying and balancing us, reordering our priorities, rescuing us from the past and the future to experience the power of the present moment. After experiencing a medieval revival, the labyrinth lost favor in the 17th and 18th centuries at a time where they were largely removed from cathedrals. That era was the age of reason. Rationalists declared themselves enlightened and embraced a scientific, mechanical view of the universe. which denied the importance of the metaphysical and spiritual. Although quantum physics has offered a more encompassing view of things, our world is still much like that of the 18th century, albeit with more technology. Those seeking the shortest distance between 2 points rely on the linear, not the circular. The big difference with the arrival of a secular world is the fact that the labyrinth is a spiritual tool. Spiritual truths can't be described in scientific language. They can only be hinted at through the use of symbols. Labyrinths are very old, and they are symbols, pointing to a truth beyond themselves. Myths do the same, attempting to describe a reason for the human condition and for our experience of living in time and space. The literal and precise language of science is not well suited for describing labyrinths and how they work. Poems do a better job, as do music and art, which are all symbolic. It's a question of destination. If we are seeking a path within, a path of personal discovery and opening, the most efficient route may well be circuitous and winding, circular. A river meanders so as to slow down the current and to prevent erosion. I have a plaque in my office wall that says, "Sometimes you just have to slow down and let your soul catch up with you." Maybe labyrinths just slow us down and rescue us from the hectic pace of modern life. So let's talk about walking. The only rule, and I've been watching, and I'm very grateful everyone was very careful as you walked around to come up to share your joys. No shoes or bare feet. I've got some shoe covers over there. There's some socks. You're welcome to walk in your own sock feet, but no shoes or bare feet. That's the only rule. Just protects it, and I appreciate you being attentive to that. We can comfortably walk 5 or 6 on there, but we're a smaller group, so I'm gonna, as we start our walking time, I'm gonna be over there, and I'll sort of give you a signal when the next person should start, because I want to space folks out so we don't get too close to one another. And I'll ask that we have that time in silence so that we can each be thoughtful during our own walk. And the time of while you are waiting or after you have walked is also a time of meditation and of preparation and a time to breathe. There's one path, right? And so it's a two-way street. So you might encounter someone going out as you are coming in. You'll come to each other. It's just, you'll find a way to walk around. You'll easily figure that out. You just step aside and pass. It also is possible that you will walk at a little quicker pace than someone else. I invite you to slow down, but you might come up to someone. It's all right to pass them, all right? And if you get passed, don't think you've done something wrong. We all have our own speed and our own pace. So just be comfortable. The goal is not to get in and get out as quickly as you can. The goal is to use the labyrinth as a way to get deep within yourself. So I invite you to breathe and to walk slowly. The other thing about labyrinths, and as we heard Robert talk about, they're symbolic. And so everything that happens on the labyrinth can be a metaphor for our lives, for further discovery and awareness. Just looking at it, it reminds us of the twists and turns of life. We're never quite sure exactly where we are in relation to our goal. Sometimes you go a long way before you have another turn in your life, another change. Sometimes it's a short time before you have another turn or a twist. And I invite you to notice what you experience. Experience what you experience. And then think about it later. And I'll give you an example. I noticed, and part of this is being a facilitator, and so but even if I'm not facilitating a group walk, if I'm just there, happen to be walking with others, I would find myself paying attention to the others who were walking. Are they doing okay? I wonder how they're going. How are they feeling? And then later I started to think about that. And I think in my own life there are many, many times when I pay more attention to those around me than to what's going on in my own life. I think that's some avoidance, perhaps, of my own pain or even joy, I don't know. But it's been a helpful thing for me to think about. And so things that happen to us that we feel and experience in the labyrinth can be a mirror into the rest of our lives. So I invite you to think about that. So as you prepare, and it is important to prepare. Melissa Gale West says that labyrinths invite us to show up. You remember that phrase, must be present to win, in contests? It invites us to show up and be present in this moment. And so as you wait for your turn, use that time as a time of preparation. Can bring a question to the labyrinth, perhaps. Is there something within you that needs renewal today? Is there a grief or a burden that you bring with you today? Is there a decision that you need discernment for today? Is there something you need to leave in that center so that you can be free as you leave? And so I invite you to walk with some kind of intention. And use the time as you wait for your turn to prepare for that. Are there any questions before we get started?
Sure. How do we know when we get to the center?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so you'll follow the path, and you will wind up in the center. That's exactly right. And there's a pillow there if you'd like to kneel or sit for a little bit. That's fine. You can stand in the center as long as you want. And if somebody's in there and you're ready to head back out and they came in before you, that's all right. Just head back out whenever you're ready. Folks will stay there as long as they want. And then you follow the same path back out. You don't just walk off. Follow the same path back out again. Right? Other questions?
What I thought I heard you describing was an oracle. Is the labyrinth an oracle?
How do you understand that? That's not a particular...
When someone casts the I Ching or lays out the tarot or casts the runes or whatever, in order to find an answer, discernment, something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The
I Ching then is the oracle.
It
Is the oracle. It's something we look to give us an answer for something.
Mm-hmm. The thing about the labyrinth is it doesn't belong to anybody, any one religion, one belief system, and so that is certainly a way to make sense and to use it. I like to see it as a tool. It's what it does to our minds in that centering that opens us up to what God or the universe would have us hear in that moment. There are plenty of ways to think about it. Yeah. Other questions? And we plan to have a little time at the end after everyone who has wanted to walk. You do not have to walk. Everybody who's wanted to has an opportunity. If there's still time, we will have a chance to share a little bit about your experience if there's time in the end. All right. We're going to turn the lights down. We're going to turn the music on. And again, I will sort of give folks a signal of when to start.